Welcome back to Actual Proper Podcast. Myself, Reece, Farkash, and Twila, Amato. So it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a very long while.
So long. There's a huge mess going on over working with Spotify to try and fix it. It's finally all done. The podcast is just directly built into our site now, and it's just way easier for hosting. So we're back up and running, baby.
Yeah!
Honestly, I'm just glad to have. That's just one of the many things off my to-do list at this point. Like
Living the real adult life.
Oh, the adult life is just endless, like, to-do lists where you have to phone different companies and organizations,
Oh
like
my
the
gosh,
government,
yes.
and they're only open 9 to 5 weekdays, which is while you're at work. So it's just the most annoying thing ever.
See, as much as I lament the fact that I work the weekends when all of my friends are off and we can hang out, at least my days off are Mondays and Tuesdays, which is very nice because then when I do need to get something done with an organization or like government things, they are open and it's my weekend and I'm well free. So it's just like, oh yes. So that's been an advantage so far, I think.
I just find it's just absolutely ridiculous, and just the lack of oversight's just so crazy to me with like big organizations that the only way you can get in contact with them is by phoning them during office hours. Like no email, no like submit message like on a website or anything. Nothing, just a phone number. And it's like a pretty big deal. Like,
I mean, it is, but sometimes it's kind of it's to prevent fraud too, I think. Like, especially if you can only contact them with a certain number, then people, can know that that's the only way that this organization is going to contact them, right? And so if there's no email, then if you do receive a fraudulent email, like posing as from like a government organization that doesn't, deal with customers or residents via email, then you'll know right away that, oh, actually, that's fraudulent and let's not click on that. But if it is just that phone number, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of scams going on, especially like right now a news thing, but like with BC Hydro, customers being targeted via email saying that apparently they overpaid their bills and that BC Hydro wants to give them back that money through e-transfer, but it's really just fraudsters wanting your banking information, right? Whereas,
100%.
Yeah, so I think it's just to filter out that kind of situations, but like...
Yeah.
I get that it's frustrating. Like, I fully understand it. It can be frustrating.
It's also like 100% like, I don't know, at those points, like, how could you ever be like tripped up by that? Because like, if BC Hydro were to overcharge you, they'd give you back a credit instead of like e-transfer.
Instead of e-transfer.
Anyway, that's just whatever.
It's
that's
a whole
just
can of worms.
Yeah.
Let's not open it.
Let's just not even go there. Let's worry about here on the island where gas prices have gone up yet again. $1.52.9.
Actually, it was $1.53.9 a week ago.
Sweet.
So it's gone down that much.
Yeah, I know. I remember being hopeful when we recorded this, like our previous episodes a couple weeks back, and like, can't wait for those gas prices to be down in summer. We can drive everywhere. No, They went up. They went up a lot. They went up like 20 more cents.
Yeah, it sucks. I was recently in Vancouver for the Easter weekend, and gas prices there, man, it's murder.
Yeah, like $1.78 and like stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When I was there, I mean, thank God for parents who give you gas, but like my dad filled up my car. It was, I think at the time that he did that, it was $1.72, and I'm just like, oh my God, let's maybe just not have a car, And the thing is, my parents have my family have 2 cars. They have a minivan and an SUV, and so sucks to suck.
What I really don't get is like, I could see gas prices being a little bit higher here on the island because we're on an island. Makes sense. It's not easy to get over here in large quantities, but like Vancouver mainland, like it's mainland, like it should just be so easy. But that is a whole nother can of worms with the government of BC and just all this stuff.
There's a lot.
Big oil. It's just a mess, and we're not going to go there because we're by far both not experts. So.
Oh, I most definitely am not. I can only drive.
So something that's happened since we were last recorded too is little developments with Roll Up the Rim. Still not over it.
Are you still bitter about this whole thing?
Yes, and it's finally like, come out like
Wait,
how
wait, wait.
crappy of a promo it was this year, because they're like, Big Tim Hortons is like, well, it's not working, so we're gonna look into other avenues. And of course, that was like only a little while after they released the Tim's card, was after like that roll up the rim. So
Right.
that's how they're gonna be doing in the future. But like, yeah, the reason roll up the rim sucked is because you did it so badly.
Okay, how can they make it better though?
Obviously, like, just make people more invested and up that win chance. Like, a cup of coffee for them to make it is like 20 cents. It costs them almost nothing. It's mostly water. And like, giving out 20 cents every like third cup, like, it's not just the customer is like, oh yeah, I'm saving money. It's just the like the gambling response in people's brains. Like, it just feels so good.
For some reason, I feel like the winning chance and actually, winning was better maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Big time.
And I
Even
don't know,
last year.
Yeah, I don't know what it was with this year, but it just sucked. But I guess I actually just was thinking about this with the whole, like, I think Roll Up the Rim as a promotion, like, gig or whatever it is, like, I don't think it really works now either, because I think one of the reasons why it flopped this time around too is because people are a whole lot more like, environmentally conscious about those things, and a lot more people are using reusable cups, which is great. Good for you guys, and everybody should use reusable cups. But like, it's such a wasteful like promotion, honestly.
Exactly. And like, nowadays there's just so much variety when it comes to coffee shops.
Right,
like,
exactly. I mean, in a smaller place, obviously, where we live, there's just not a lot of options, but
there still is a lot. There's the
still
local
others.
cafes. We have many incredible ones here,
yeah,
as
for
well
sure.
as we
There's
have
also
like
Starbucks.
3 Starbucks just in our tiny town.
Yeah.
A couple McDonald's. We have a couple 3 Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Like,
So no, there is variety, but it's just that a lot more people are using other ways to transport their beverages around, right? So I feel like that's what it is too. And honestly, as a promotion, like I said, as a thing, it just doesn't work anymore. It's a thing of the past, and that's okay, because as a big company, I'm sure they can think of something else.
like a free coffee day or something would be really cool. They would like, they wouldn't make like pretty much any money that day, and of course they'd be like spending so much more coffee than normal. But I think they'd see a lot more returns and a lot more happier customers because of it,
Right,
and they'd
in
make
the
it up
long
in the
run.
long run. Yeah, for
For
sure,
sure.
in their returns.
Yeah, for sure. I
Anyway,
guess so.
that is the hot Tim Hortons tea of the week. And now we've seen like a whole new resurgence of talent from like artists that used to be big a long time ago. They've gone by the wayside. They were just too big for too long. So then the new artists that are around nowadays, they do things differently, and it's just a lot more well received for a lot of people. But now the big artists, Jonas Brothers, Taylor Swift, Pink, they've all had comebacks in the past couple weeks, which has been insane to see, because their sound is nothing like their usual sound. And it's just, they're blowing it out of the water. And for some reason, just in the last few weeks, it's been happening. And it's just so neat to see.
Yeah, I think too, it's got to do with them obviously maturing as artists, right? Especially, I think.
Yeah,
with
Jonas
the
Brothers,
Jonas Brothers,
they're not going to go make the same music they did when they were like 16,
right,
for
exactly,
sure.
Yeah, but also just I find they're just better musicians now, honestly. Like, especially hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but like, I hope that's not too controversial of a view. But like, especially Nick Jonas, like I find he's like much better vocalist now than he was back when he was younger. Even when he like was playing Marius in Les Mis. So like, I don't know, he's just a better singer now, and I feel like he's definitely someone that I can listen to now than like even last year, or like, yeah, I don't know. So like, for sure, better sound, just I guess better songwriting too, I find, especially with Pink's new album. It's just a whole lot more mature, I think. And not in a bad way necessarily. It's more like, I feel like it's a whole lot more introspective than it used to be. Like, it's not just angsty.
Yeah, it's a lot more tackling issues with hers, like Walk Me Home Tonight. Like,
I love that song.
It's like an actual issue, while like her other songs, like her older stuff, is all about empowerment.
Which is nice too, don't get me wrong. That's also nice.
It's just a different sound for her.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
Like, that's why, like, I feel like it's a lot better in that way, just because it's like it's way more relatable with a lot of people.
Right?
Yeah, but in the fact where people are liking it more, it's a lot more relatable for them instead of like, oh, everyone be good, be awesome. That's not realistic. But, you know, facing actual...
Don't you want the world to be good, Reece?
But it's not, and it never will be. And
Ouch.
That's why her new wave of music is a lot better than it was.
Yeah, I will say, yeah. I'm a big fan of the new album for sure, and just the new sound that she's come out with. It's really good.
And we're going to be getting into our first segment, our advice segment. So this week, we decided to kind of tackle something we've both faced a few times in our lives, and that's changing schools. Specifically, more around high school. I feel like that's like has more of an impact than like when you're elementary, even middle school days. Like high school is really where it, you need a pretty big foundation.
Yeah.
And I decided it'd be pretty nice to shed a little bit of light of like what is to be expected when you change schools. Like, what is just a little bit of advice we have on it. So I thought it'd be awesome. So start off, what would you tell to someone who's maybe going to a different school starting grade 10?
Gosh, honestly, just know that it sounds kind of, I'm not trying to be pessimistic or anything, but just know that it will be difficult in the first, few months or so, it maybe even longer. And that's just the way things are sometimes. When you're transitioning from one place where you're comfortable into something else that you're not, obviously, it's just going to be stressful, and there's just going to be difficulties, and that's okay, And if you are having a hard time, to never hesitate to reach out and actually, tell someone, especially, maybe a grown-up or a teacher or whatever, that you're having a hard time, because you have to expect that schoolwork will probably be different, And of course, friends, you're not going to have the exact same friends. And when you move from one school to another, you also have to understand that maybe your other friends, not that they're ditching you or anything, it's just things are just going to be different. You're going to have probably different schedules, different workloads. That's okay, but try your best to obviously be open to new friends. Like, as it's always painful to leave behind a group of friends, or them leaving you behind, if they're the ones moving. That always sucks, but you have to always be open to other people coming into your life, because that's what growing up is too, right? So, but yeah, those are the main things that I would say, is always reach out for help if you feel like you really need it, or, and of course, just be open to that change and to other people coming into your life, because you never know, these people might be better for you, or they might help you, right, along the way.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with like a lot of what you said. Like, when it's something as tricky as high school, you're moving there and it's like such a formative years for you. And if you spend it like in a difficult place, it's definitely going to affect you when you grow up. So it's just pretty important. Like, when you move to a new school, expect that you're going to be someone who's alone for a long time before it gets better, and it's not going to be great before it gets better, but once it gets better, it's going to be fine.
Exactly.
But don't expect to get there and all of a sudden to make friends or have pressure to have friends when you get there. Just know that it is 100% normal for everyone.
Yeah.
That to just, be alone see what it's like, and just kind of experience it by yourself. And that's it's just the normal thing to do, as well as when you start making your first friends. Don't expect those friends to necessarily be your friends forever. Like, find some people who are just easy to be around with, hang with them for a while, and then once you know a little bit more about the place, you've met a lot more people, you will be moving on from your first group of friends. Your first group of friends is like your transition period friends. It's someone some people who are just easy to fall in line with, but then ultimately they're not going to be your friends forever. And that's the case that I see like almost all the time. Sorry, my phone's going off. One sec. Can you take over for a little bit?
I was actually just going to say, while it is good to take that pressure off of yourself, to not necessarily make friends just yet, there's also the other side of the story, which is if you're in a school where you see that a new person is coming into your grade or into the school and your circle of friends, make the effort to reach out to this
100%.
person, because it always goes a long way. I've been in both sides of
Totally.
that, and I've been the one who was the new girl. I mean, when I went into high school, it was a new school, it was a new city, it was a whole new culture, and so it was like a triple shock kind of deal, and it was really difficult, and I couldn't make friends for the longest time, and that was okay, but it was hard because it just generally wasn't a good time, because high school kids where I, like the city that I moved into, like it was just a little rough, and so that sucked. But also knowing that it sucks for newcomers, I realized that, hey, maybe let's, reach out to these people, because it sucks for them to move, to be in a whole new environment. And so I remember there was this girl who moved. We were in grade 10 actually when this happened. And the first class that we were in together was science class. And she was on crutches, and no one would approach her because everybody's just a little, especially again, the school that I went to, everybody's a little wary of other people. And so they were very wary of her, gave her a wide berth, didn't talk to her, anything. But I felt so bad because she was struggling physically to carry her books, her backpack. And again, she was on crutches. She'd broken her leg. And so I was just like, hey, maybe let's just be friends. So after science class, I was just like, hey, do you need help carrying your stuff? Like, I can do that for you. And it turns out that we had a couple more classes together. And so I just like hung around, carried that stuff for her. And then lunchtime came. And then, I had my own classes. She had hers. And so that little, I guess, kind of just like reaching out to someone was like really helpful to her. And she, she's fine. And she obviously was like happy about it. So, be a nice person, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, yes, it's going to be like, if you're the one moving, it's going to be uncomfortable, and expect to be alone for a while. But if you're that person, who like you're seeing someone moving into wherever you are, welcome them, right? And just be like, hey, do you need help? Do you know where your classes are? Do you want directions getting there? And it goes a long way, honestly.
Totally. That's some stellar advice right there. And before we get to the next segment of recommendations, we're going to talk a little bit about hiking, because we've been doing that a lot the past couple of weeks. Holy man, 2 hikes, back-to-back weekends. One absolutely insane. The other one that we did yesterday, a lot better. More manageable. Yeah. A lot of fun.
The first one was soul crushing, I will say.
It was crazy.
Soul crushing, but also like just body crushing. It was I think the difficulty level on that was difficult. It
was Black Diamond. It was most difficult. It was like
difficult.
A hike for the most experienced of hikers and climbers.
Yeah, it was not. Oh my gosh. So I'm a noodle. I'm just not physically. I'm just not at my peak physical level, and that's been okay with me for the most part. You know?
But it's not quite like, oh, I'm going to climb a mountain in 4 hours today. Like, literally start at the bottom, climb all the way to the top of the mountain. That's maybe a little more training.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was, I'm a very stubborn person, and I feel like my sheer stubbornness is what got me up and down that mountain, because otherwise I would have just not, because like I said, I'm a noodle, and I'm just so physically unfit that I think I would have given up any other time had I not been the stubborn person I am, because every time I sat down and took a break, I was just like, I feel like giving up. I am gonna go back down and just like give up. But I'm just like, no, Twila, get yourself together. You are not giving up. You got this, girl. Like, you are going all the way up, getting a picture, and climbing back down in one piece.
Yeah, no, that was me. Like, maybe an eighth of the way up. Just like, yeah, I'm not gonna get up there. I'm just gonna do the hikes around here. And it was actually a lot of fun. I just like toiled around there by myself, like.
Which is nice because then you weren't
so
sore
nice.
for like days after.
No,
I
it felt
was
great.
so sore. My legs, oh my God.
Yeah, you can walk for a long time.
I couldn't walk for a long time. And I was just like, man, this sucks. And the thing was, so good thing though, that we did the hike on a Saturday. So I worked Sunday. And then the next few days, I was just like home and recuperating because I was just like, my legs feel so bad right now. And like to the point that I would wake up in the middle of the night because I was in so much pain. But I guess that's what stubbornness gets you, you know? Like,
yeah. Stubborn people out there, know your limits, play within it.
Stop.
BC gaming and something, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, at some point of the hikes, like you guys were saying, like, it's literally like up this sheer rock face.
There's a
and
rock
there's
face,
like chains tied to trees that you have to pull yourself up because it's like so vertical that you can't walk up it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's no footholds or anything. You have to pull
it's like slippery dirt or something.
and so I actually was very concerned about that when we first got to the first set of like it was ropes that one time and then the rest are chains. And so like when we first got to that, I was just like, oh, my arms are especially weak. Like I can barely like open and close truck doors, like let alone pull myself up. Like
yeah, and it's not even like oh, I'm going to like see if I can do it and then like whatever.
Yeah,
but no, like giving up means like you're down the mountain because
exactly.
like
you're falling off.
Literally like straight up and down, like for the entire way.
Yeah.
And it's like what, like 8 kilometers? Like it's far.
I can't remember how long it was, but it definitely, I mean, it takes a lot longer because it is hard, right?
Yeah.
And it's like just straight up. And so, but yeah, I was really worried that first one. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get up this way? Because like, and I remember like just standing at the bottom of that rock face, that first rope. And I was just like, I don't think I'm going to make it, you guys. Like, my arms are just not built for that. And so, I mean, I made it. My coworkers.
You got that picture.
Yeah, my coworkers made it like, you know, they were like, you know what, Twila, we're not going to let you die. You're going to make it up. You can do it. So, yeah, what they did was they kind of like flanked me. So like one of them was in front of me and then like 2 of them were behind me. So in case like I fell back or whatever, which was really nice.
Comforting.
It's comforting, but it's also just like, it's encouraging because they're just as much as like of a noodle as I am. Well, not so much because, you know, one of them, like John, he plays hockey. So like and soccer. So he's a lot more fit than I am.
And our hike this weekend.
Yeah, that was really good actually.
There was a few hills, but like not nearly.
It wasn't so bad. Yeah, no. It was just very dusty.
Yeah, it was long. It was way longer than the other one, but it wasn't up and like up the mountain.
Yeah.
It was for the most part pretty flat, and then at some points you got like I think it was like I'd say like 150 feet above the ocean where
There's
it was.
an incline, just not as much of a noticeable
it's a lot more
incline.
gradual.
Yeah, exactly.
And like it does that a few times, and like the end, you're like you
Above
finish in the final lookout. It's like with different weather towers up there, and
Which
it's just
is nice.
yeah. Oh,
That's really
it's such a
nice.
cool place. Like
Yeah.
but
And I felt a lot safer in a way.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot flatter.
There was also a lot more foot traffic, which is always comforting when you're on a hike.
That's
just seeing a lot of other hikers.
Yeah.
Because that means like there's no, like animals or like you're going the right way or like stuff like that.
But there was a point where we got a little I got spooked out like by it because like there was some like noises in the bushes and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
and
it sounded like a bear.
Honestly.
Because it like bears when like they're near humans, they make a noise where they like breathe out loudly like whew, like that. And
have you had a bear?
Oh yeah, I've been around bears like a lot where I grew up.
Oh, fun. Anyway, that's kind of what it sounded like, and I was just like, am I gonna die tonight? Am I gonna be bear supper tonight? I really don't want to be. Like, I'm way too young to die. So, yeah.
Oh, cool bear
really
fact from here on the island. Like, our most popular bear is the black bear.
Uh-huh.
And the Vancouver Island black bear is actually a different species of black bear than, like, the mainland. They're
No way.
blacker. Like, they're not, like, black bears aren't always black. Like, there's shades of brown,
Yeah,
a whole
yeah.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're blacker. They're also bigger and faster and a few other stuff. I had to research them one time. Yeah, they're pretty interesting, actually.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So maybe one of those could have like probably eaten us last night.
Maybe. I like to think there was like a few people behind us.
You were kind of scared too, though. You're like, let's
Oh, yeah,
go
big time.
faster.
Yeah, let's
And
like
you started
not slow
jogging.
down.
Which freaked me out even more because I was like, oh my god, if he's scared, then I probably should be scared. And I think that's what scared me the most was like you being scared because I was just like, okay, well, if he can't fight a bear, then I most certainly can't. I'm a lot shorter than you.
Yeah, no, they're really fast. I think the Vancouver Island black bear is like top speed is like 30 kilometers an hour, and that's pretty independent of like inclines of like uphills or like
Right.
downhills. They go the same speed uphill as they do downhill, and yeah, you'd think like that's weird, but apparently that's a thing. And also like a lot of like thick vegetation doesn't slow them down too much. Like for humans, it would like. We'd go like 5 feet every
Yeah.
like 10 seconds, but then they just so big and all their momentum, they just crash through it all.
Wow, what kind of serum do they like have injected into these things?
A lot of berries. But yeah, so that was a bit of the hiking we did. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to see, I'm sure there's pictures on our Instagrams
Yeah.
at Reece Allen FM. I want to say is my Instagram. And anyway, we're going on to recommendations now. So this is running a little bit long, so let's kind of go a little bit faster.
Sure.
So recommendations right now. My recommendation is no, I had it. Let you go. I forgot about it.
Oh my. I am recommending a book as per usual, and it is called The Marrow Thieves. I don't know how to say her
So cool.
name, the author's name. I think it's Sherry or Sherry because like it's spelt like Sherry in French.
Mm-hmm.
And her last name's Demoline, I think. I'm not too sure. I'm so sorry if I am butchering that name. But anyway, I think let's just leave her name in the description or whatever. But yeah, no, it's such a phenomenal book. It's Canadian content. It's Canadian literature. It's really, really
Yeah.
good. And it's just it just I guess it just is sort of like a retelling almost of residential schools.
Yeah.
I would like to say.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really good. It's the prose is just really amazing and very clear. And I thought very like because it's a modern day kind of like book, right? So it speaks to modern day people obviously. And it's just there's no it's not like a pretentious kind of writing I found from the author. It's so simple but so powerful and just really empathetic and just very emotional. I absolutely loved it.
So,
I feel like something else could have been done with the ending though. Like I feel like there's more resolution that could have happened, but of course, you know, personal feelings. But otherwise, it is a highly recommended book.
I believe
So
there might be a few more books or some coming out.
good.
I
In
heard-
that,
Yeah, I heard about this book like way before like we ever got it like in Nanaimo, but it was years ago when I was farming. I was listening to a lot of CBC, and that's when I first heard about this book. Was
right.
Sheila Roberts was interviewing the author, and like it just was so interesting. And I believe at that point she mentioned that there was more to come. But yeah, that was
That'd
years
be-
ago. So, but
yeah.
quickly, could you, without spoilers, tell us a little bit about what it's about?
Yeah, so it's basically the Marrow Thieves is basically just the world has experienced like severe changes from climate change, and as a result of the stress and of course just like environmental changes, people have stopped being able to dream, except for the indigenous people, and they have the power to dream, and so now what governments are trying to do is basically take indigenous people and manufacture their bone marrow into like a serum that people can take so they can dream. And basically it follows like a bunch of characters, just kind of going through that world, and we don't know what happens in the end because I'm not spoiling it, but it's just really good.
So what's the importance on being able to dream in this world?
I think just the novelty of it. Because
okay, so it's like what rich people like do for fun?
Right, exactly. Because people have forgotten what it's like to dream, and they have forgotten what it's, I guess, how that feels, and how, you know how sometimes like there's a lot of cultures that place importance on dreams because sometimes they offer wisdom, or like, you know, when you're thinking about something and all of a sudden you kind of solve it in your head through a dream. It's things like that. But everybody else has just doesn't have that ability anymore, except, like I said, for the indigenous. And everybody thinks it's magic, but to them it's kind of just like, we all dream, we're humans, you know? Mm-hmm. So, but like I said, it's so good and just very well written because, yeah, it just, in its simplicity, just like it's so empathetic and it's nice. What about you? Do you have a recommendation?
I can't remember my original recommendation because I didn't write it down, of course. But I have another one, which going back into like the classic comic series and recommendations for all of our comic fans out there, this is another DC. Because I'm a big fan of DC. I'd say probably more so than Marvel.
No way.
Well, you're more like Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel Comics is very, 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 very different.
I know nothing about the comics, but the movies are amazing.
But
Endgame?
Anyway, no spoilers. So this is a DC series. I know, like, everyone's heard of it. Injustice. So
I've
Injustice,
never heard of it.
It's done by like two parts there. What originally kicks it off, it's an alternate universe. I don't know why I said dimension, but yeah, it's an alternate universe where, long story short, like Superman kills the Joker and then goes to start a regime with like a lot of the other superheroes, and they just oppress the hell out of people and turn into killers, and it's just a whole giant thing. It's pretty messed up, but it's so good. I wasn't a huge fan of the first run of Injustice, but like Injustice 2, like this, it's like years and years and years later. It's so well done that I've just been a huge fan of it because it's like a lot of scenarios that we never see in the classic universes, like not even just the main universe, but even in the alternate universes, like this stuff never happens, and it's like situations where we'd never really see or like think about, like such as like, oh, what would it be like if like Animal Man and Vixen were like teamed up? Such little things that are like so cool because they're like, you never hear about both of them, but they're so similar, and It's just, usually you know one or the other, and like to be able to see both of them, or like a whole lot of other things that happen that I won't spoil, but it's off the wall, just craziness, and it's so good. It's just honestly really fulfilling, especially if you want to see read a piece where it's not character specific, like it's not like a Batman title or a Superman title. It just covers like the entire world going on, so you get to see like what's going on like with Hal Jordan in space, but then cut to like what's happening like League of Assassins, and then like the new, not necessarily world order, but how they're rebuilding after the regime, and like it cuts to so many different characters and what they're experiencing all at the same time that it's very world buildy. Like I like to think like in thinking like Game of Thrones, where it's like the whole world, like things are happening at the same time. We're seeing different parts moving, and that's like the whole world, and that's kind of the same method of storytelling that it's being done. And it's it's just a good read. Art is some of my favorite ever. Like it's so good, and even better than that is that it's so consistent, because a lot of titles out there you'll see artists being switched up like 5-6 issues, but it's pretty much the same art all the way through, and it's just been an absolute pleasure.
And comic book art is amazing.
Oh, it's
very beautiful.
It's so well done. It's so subtle that it's just beautiful. Anyway, so that is it for us this week. We'll be back hopefully next week with another episode. Get back to once a week after that long period without any episodes.
Get back into the swing of things.
Exactly. All right, we're going to go out, enjoy the day. Hopefully you do too. Adios.
Bye.